Welcome everybody to SEO Week. Thank you all for joining. We are going to get started now as promised. So I know a few people are still joining, but they won't miss too much. Now, before we get into the nuts and bolts of what we'll be talking about today, I'd be remiss if I didn't explain a little bit about what SEO Week is and what it's all about. We started SEO Week at NetElixir about 4 years ago as an ode to one of our unofficial mascots, Albert Einstein. Now, Einstein's birthday falls on Pi Day each year, which is 3/14 or March 14th. So we thought, what better time to celebrate Einstein's never-ending search for answers than with our own week dedicated to search? And so SEO Week was born. Now, every year on this week, we celebrate Einstein by doing SEO Week, and we want to welcome you to version 4.0 of what's been a successful run the past 3 years, and I hope all of you enjoy it this year as well. Now, today's agenda, we're going to be digging in a little bit about the landscape of SEO for e-commerce. So we'll be talking about the overall SEO landscape, what's happened, what's changed in the past few years, and what all of you need to know before we get started. Next, we'll be talking about some of the most important aspects for e-commerce SEO, including site architecture, understanding RANKBRAIN and AI, mobile-first experience, user experiences, content, and then hopefully, if we don't get too crazy, we'll have a little room at the end for some questions and answers. Now would be the time to introduce myself. My name is Steve Murphy. I am the Director of Marketing at NetElixir. And for those of you who have joined us for the rest of our webinars this year, I hope this is a familiar voice because I've been on all of them so far. And I look forward to joining you on future ones. Now, looking forward to this week, we'll also have members of our SEO team, our paid search team, and our analytics team to go over some other topics that are a little bit more in-depth on SEO and really dig deeper into particular aspects, including SEO for Amazon, omni-channel search, and even how to conduct your own SEO audit. So look forward to a plethora of speakers this week that will be going into a lot of different avenues of e-commerce SEO. Now, before we get started, I did want to take a moment to talk about who we are as an agency. So NetElixir is a specialized retail search marketing agency dedicated to help you decode what makes people click. So we're not just focused on clicks and conversions and things like that. Obviously we are, but one thing that we take a lot of pride in is we take a step back and look at the customers themselves. What motivates them? What drives them to research and buy from you? And we use that information to create customer journeys across all the major retail categories. And we use that information to make more informed search marketing decisions for you, whether it's in paid search, SEO, display, paid social, Amazon, or a variety of other marketing technology spheres. NetElixir is here to help you grow. Our team is comprised of over 120 plus fanatically analytical search marketers operating in 3 countries around the world, making sure that we have coverage for your campaigns no matter what time or day it is. We help you own the search bar with our high-touch, high-tech approach. So no matter where your customers are searching, our goal is to help you own those search bars and get your products in front of the right people. We're a Google Premier partner, a Bing Select agency, an exclusive UPS partner helping their clients grow. So shout out to all of my UPS people who are on the line. I think I saw a few people joining already. Thanks for joining us, guys. And as mentioned before, we work with over 120 clients across all the major retail categories, including technology, flowers and delivery, apparel, department stores, eyewear, kitchenware, you name it, and we have experience in almost every single category. You didn't come here to hear about us today. You came here to learn about what's happening in SEO and what you should know moving forward. Now, as all of the SEO professionals who are on here probably know, this is one of the areas that changes most rapidly in digital marketing. And the reason SEO is so difficult to keep track of is because there's a lot of secret sauce going on, right? Google, Bing, other search engines, they don't want to tell us every single change that happens. And that means that we have to make a lot of inferences and a lot of educated guesses. But there are some things that they do let us in on. And those are some of the areas I'll focus on here, just to show you how much the landscape has changed in the past few years alone. First of all, mobile first has gotten a huge focus from the major search engines, right? They know that more people are searching on their mobile phones than on desktop devices, and they're making a gigantic push for all retailers and brands to start thinking about mobile first. In addition to that, the search engine results pages have also changed, right? Those of you who are pretty heavy in paid search know that Google changed how many ads were showing up on a particular search engine results page. And those of you on the organic side also know that things like rich snippets and knowledge graph are taking up even more space on the page than they ever did before. What does that mean? That means that each individual spot in an organic SERP doesn't hold the same value that it used to. Some have been prioritized, some have been de-emphasized, but it really has changed the way that we have to think about ranking in Google and how we show up. And because of that, the algorithm is getting smarter and smarter at understanding user intent. It knows that someone who's researching purchase decisions is different than someone that wants knowledge and overall research, and is also different than someone that's just casually browsing and looking for high-level information, right? So as the algorithm has gotten better at recognizing user intent, it has also adapted the way it shows different search results. And as we'll see a little later, keywords might not be as important as they used to be. Because of this, we have to focus on things like structured data, rich snippets, answer boxes. All these things are now showing up in the SERP, and we can't ignore their importance and how you have to change your strategy to focus on them. And finally, voice adoption is reaching mainstream, right? We'll be going over this a little deeper in April, but we've seen things like Alexa and Google Assistant literally skyrocket the past few years. There's commercials on TV, they're built into nearly all of our mobile phones, and there are new devices creating new opportunities for voice search. So we now need to think about people searching with their voice rather than just typing queries in, which is wildly different in some circumstances. So with all this in mind, we have to realize that old school tactics won't differentiate us anymore. They're simply required just to be in the conversation. So we have to go a little bit up and above, because if you're not leading, you're falling behind. So let's talk about something that's near and dear to our hearts here. We believe that great e-commerce SEO starts with great site architecture. And as you're going to see, a lot of what we're talking about, there may be some overlaps, right, with web development, with user experience, but that's the way SEO is today. It's not just its own little silo that you can live in. SEO, rather, is a framework that involves all different aspects of how your site is designed, developed, optimized, and written for. And we have to take all of these into context when thinking about optimizing our sites. So when we talk about optimizing a site, I just wanted to get this one thing out of the way, right? There are typically two audiences we have to think about. We have to think about what users want. These are the end customers that are eventually coming to our site. And we also have to think about crawlers. What is it that a search engine wants out of our site? So on the user side, they want answers to their questions, right? They want to get where they're going quickly. They want a lightning fast experience. They don't want to sit around waiting for loading screens and animations. And they want less clicking around. The fewer clicks it takes to get to what I'm looking for, the happier I'll be as a customer. Your site should also be easy to understand. It should be the right format for consumption, understanding when video is important versus when written content is important. And customers want to trust your brand. They want to make sure if they're forking over their hard-earned cash, it's to a brand that they can trust and not some no-show selling things somewhere where they don't know who the person is, what they're selling, is there a warranty, right? So trust is a big piece in the SEO equation. On the other side, we also have what search engines want. Now, search engines aren't like people, right? Search engines don't necessarily understand all the context. They don't have feelings and emotions. They're making purely rational decisions based on ones and zeros. So we also have to consider that they want easy access to all of your content. So whereas a user wants to see just the pages they're interested in, a crawler wants to see all your pages so that it can make clear connections to what's important and how that content might be relevant to users. They also want to parse clean code, right? A browser and a search engine, they want to make sure that the minimum amount of code is displayed to give users everything they need. They also want to understand the context of your content and how the taxonomy of your site works, right? And finally, they want to minimize dead ends. A search engine does not want to see broken pages and crazy redirect loops because that ends up being a bad user experience. So keeping all of this in mind, we have to sit and think to ourselves, which one do we optimize for? The user, the customer, or the search engine itself? And unfortunately, the difficult answer here is that we need to optimize for both. This is why it's so important that you take both into consideration when creating your site, when optimizing your pages, and even when doing your reporting and making decisions around your site. Now, we hope the following pages will give you some insights and very actionable tactics to help you do both of those things. So, getting right along and cruising right through, first thing we want to talk about with site architecture is the taxonomy of your site and the most common pages you want to think about when optimizing. Now, I know there is a lot of other types of pages, and I'm bound to get a few people submitting questions saying, hey, you forgot like 17 things here. We know that, but there are also considerations like time and what's most important to get the best possible results. So we're going to focus on 4 common types of pages today. We're going to talk about your home page, which many consider to be the most important single page on your site, simply because it introduces users to your brand and sets expectations for what's to come. Next, we're going to talk about category pages, pages that are used for navigation, exploration, and organization by users. Third, we're going to talk about the money pages, the product detail pages, the place where people make their informed purchase decisions and where they're able to buy your products and put revenue in your pocket. And finally, we'll talk about information pages, right? Kind of a catch-all term for your resources, your blogs, anywhere on your site that builds trust and amplifies your brand. So let's go through each one of these and talk about some of the tips that you can use to make the most of your SEO for these pages. So when talking about our homepage, one of the things you want to avoid from the get-go is creating too many moving parts or too much flashy content. Now, I know from a user perspective, this can sometimes seem like the best idea. We want our brand to stand out, right? We want it to dance and sing and be colorful. But at the same time, we don't want to distract from the goal of the user, and we don't want to clog up the page for search engines. And that's why we avoid keeping some of those things like sliders and carousels and some of these other components away from the top of the home page. We want to make sure that our page is optimized properly for speed and that we're using static images or other low intensity resources on the top of the page. We also want to incorporate strong calls to actions and USPs. Now, you might be thinking, well, what does this have to do with SEO? Isn't that just marketing 101? Well, it does have a purpose in SEO. The reason we want strong calls to action is because it creates good prioritization for your internal linking on your site. We want to make sure that your homepage connects people to the pages that you feel are most important, so that a search engine also knows how those relationships work and can prioritize the value of the pages appropriately. The same goes for having your unique selling propositions, whether it's free shipping or other branded statements. We want to make sure when someone lands on your homepage that they connect with you instantly, because having a high bounce rate off your homepage and having people leave immediately can be considered a signal that can hurt you in search results. So we want to make sure that we deliver our value immediately and keep people exploring on our pages rather than going back to the SERP and going to one of your competitors. Next, we want to make sure that homepage navigation is easy to find and simple to understand. Make it so that when people are looking to take the next steps, once they've understand what your brand is about, that they understand where to go next, and make it so that search engines can easily find all the main category pages you're offering, as well as the most important products and resources. Third, we want to include a search box, right? Front and foremost, don't hide it on some obscure page. Don't throw it in the footer. Allow the search box to be prominent on your homepage. That will, again, reduce bounce rate and allow users to find what they're looking for more quickly, which is always our goal when thinking about SEO and website conversion rate in general. Finally, think about your contact information and make that easily visible. Now, contact information can be different for different kinds of businesses, right? It could be easy links to your retail brick and mortar locations. If you're e-commerce only, it could be direct links to your support team or your ordering team or your sales team. Whatever it is in your case, make your contact information easy to find, because not only will that help you with your site, but that's the information that's going to show up in rich snippets on search results and help you capture more real estate whenever someone is stuck on a SERP page. Here's an example from one of our clients. We like to show you and not just tell you some things that we really like. One of our clients, Chic Shoes, does a great job of keeping their homepage clear, concise, and making the most important links stand out. You can shop for their latest and greatest offers right from the top of the homepage. There's a search box to make it easy for you to look for what you're initially trying to find. The navigation is clear and concise and helps drive you to the right category pages. And you could see what brands they're selling off the bat, so that you know if you're looking for Jordan brand shoes, you've reached the right destination and you don't have to dig through 7 pages just to find that information out. Next up, we want to talk a little bit about category pages. And unfortunately, from our experience, these pages sometimes get the least love of anywhere on the site. Why is that? It's because it's not usually a page you build, but a page that is generated by whatever your e-commerce platform or CMS is. But it's important that we add content to this page to help beef it up and describe what the category is actually about, right? We also want to make sure that we don't neglect basics here, right? Instead of just using whatever title tags and whatever common structure your e-commerce platform throws at you, make sure to use custom titles, custom descriptions, and tweak the heading structure to make sure these pages are taking advantage of all the different opportunities you have to rank for a particular type of product. We also recommend using filters to simplify your taxonomy, right? We're going to go into this in a couple slides. but we don't want to have thousands of category pages. We want to be able to sort within category pages while still keeping the number of those pages to a minimum. And this is where striving for balance comes in. There is no hard and fast rule for how to create your categories, but we would recommend thinking of what is the right amount of category pages that helps organize your content without becoming a chore in itself, right? So for example, if you have 7 or 8 category pages and each of them only has 1 or 2 products, I would think that's a red flag, and it's an opportunity for you to go back, do an audit, and see how many category pages do I really need. More on that tomorrow when we talk about auditing, doing a technical audit of your website, but keep that in mind. Another nifty thing to do is to always keep an eye on your competitors for taxonomy ideas, right? For example, you might be calling a product one thing, but learn from your competitors that there's some new jargon or there's some new word for what you're selling that might connect better with customers. For example, I saw an ad for male rompers, and I said, what? That's interesting. And it turns out a lot of people are now calling them romp hymns. So not really something that you would know off the bat unless you're up to date with that terminology. So it's important to always monitor to see what the industry trends are to make sure you're calling things what your customers are calling them. Side note, I do not own any male rompers for those of you who are curious. And finally, never forget the customer journey. How do customers want to explore your page? This is where it's important to keep in touch with your customers, survey them, talk to them, and ask them what their experiences are in your category pages to help you get better at sorting things out and making them work. So another client example we'll use here, a company called Concord Seating. I know it's a little hard to see, but you could see that they have very clear categories set up: sofas, chairs, lighting, tables, right? Very clear and distinct product categories. And below that, they have very clear subcategories: leather dining chairs, accent chairs, aluminum chairs, right? All of these things are very worthy of having subcategories in place. You'll also see at the top, right below where it says chairs, they do have a custom description they've written to help explain their USP and to help beef up this page to make sure it has more content to feed to users and to search engines to help them rank here. Now, I did note before, we do want to talk for 1 second about faceted navigation. So again, we want to make sure we make the browsing experience great for users, but we also want to consider search engines. And we don't want to send search engines thousands and thousands of category pages for every permutation of what we're selling, right? So things like size, color, brand, these things might be important for users, but not quite as important for ranking in search engines. So we do want to make sure that we use faceted navigation that allows us to show these different results on your category page without having these things be their own category pages. So if you do use these, please make sure to block some of these parameters from being indexed. You can do this with a combination of no index on the pages themselves, robots.txt if you're using specific URL-based parameters, canonical tags back to the main category page, a lot of technical things that can go on behind the scenes. I would talk to your developers, to your agency, or to your internal SEO team to see the best way for you to do this. But we did feel this is something we see on a lot of sites we work with, a lot of these issues, and we wanted to point it out for those of you who maybe haven't thought about it yet. Next, let's talk about our money pages, those product detail pages where your inventory is actually listed. Now, it's important here to realize that we don't have unlimited resources, right? Some of you may, and good for you. I applaud you. That's wonderful. But for most of us, you don't necessarily have the man hours to tweak every single product on your site. Instead, we encourage you to find those money pages, the 20% of your products that drive 80% of your revenue, and customize the content for those pages, right? Give your best effort to make sure those are ranking as well as possible. And for the rest, create scalable templates within your e-commerce platform or in your CMS, right? You can still create pretty good templates that accomplish most of what you want without having to customize the content on every single product. So for those of you who have maybe 100,000 SKUs or even tens of thousands of SKUs, consider this as a good way to balance between your time and the risk reward. Secondly, we want to talk about multimedia, right? A lot of product detail pages do a good job with images, maybe showing a small carousel of how the product would work for the person or how it looks in different environments. But what about video? What about user guides? What about size charts, right? All this different multimedia serves as content, which can be used to index you by search engines and also helps engage your users, keeping them on the page and hopefully answering all their purchase-related questions. And in addition to this, think about including more product specs and Q&A to optimize for long-tail opportunities. Now, we'll talk about RANKBRAIN in a little bit and talk about why that's important. But think about Amazon, right? The 6,000-pound elephant in the room. Amazon does a great job for every product they sell. Not only do they have structured charts with specs and comparisons, but they also have user-generated Q&A sections, right? This allows them to rank a lot of their products for obscure keywords, question-based, natural language terms that they might not have considered when building those pages themselves. So think about copying one of these industry giants and following suit on some of that extra content to really make those PDPs pop. And on that same note, mark them up, right? Use structured data to your advantage. Make sure that you use the proper schema for things like pricing, for reviews, for recipes. Some of you in the food industry might know this, right? All these things give search engine crawlers more ways to help you stand out in the search engine results page and gives customers a better opportunity to see if your brand connects with them better. And finally, keep your inventory up to date, right? We're saying this not necessarily from a purely SEO standpoint, but from a user experience standpoint. No one wants to click on a results in a search engine results page and bring it to an item that went out of stock last season because you don't make it anymore, right? Keep up to date with those because those experiences are ones that are hard to change, and you might lose a customer forever if the first couple pages they hit are products that are no longer sold by your organization. Here's an example of one of our clients and their product page, right? You could see that Ames Walker has great description, lots of content talking about the features of their products, right? They have marked up schema for their reviews on their site. They also have an abundance of customer reviews, and they also have additional recommended products. All this works together, not only to help them rank better, but to help the customers make more informed purchase decisions when they hit these pages. Finally, let's talk a little bit about information pages. Information pages are places where you can answer users' questions, right? This is where you help them make decisions about your brand. So think about positioning yourself as an authority on a topic, right? For example, if you sell apparel, maybe you want to focus on what the latest fall fashions are going to be, or in this case, spring fashions. I'm a little off there. Or summer fashions, right? Be a leader in your industry and focus pages on questions that aren't necessarily purchase related, but are authoritative and help your brand. Also, don't forget to format and optimize these for all these different SERP features we talked about earlier, right? For example, it's good to ask questions on those pages and then clearly answer those questions so that you could show up for the answer box in search results. Use rich snippets to help you optimize for voice search. Use the proper HTML markup so that your data can be parsed properly. Don't ignore your blog or these other resource pages just because they're not the ones that necessarily drive revenue, because these can be huge traffic generators for you and help bring in people that eventually will convert into paying customers. And finally, you want to create powerful internal navigation by always linking back from these resource pages to the key products and category pages, right? So if we're talking about these fall fashion trends, we want to make sure that we highlight a couple items that we sell and make it extremely easy for the user to get back to that page, and also allow search engines to see how the semantic connections exist between different content on your site. Here's another example from the Ames Walker for their compression sock guide. You can see not only do they have rich media in there, but they also have a lot of good information to help someone make that purchase decision on how do I choose the right stocking before I even go out and research specific brands or types of stockings. All right, cruising along now. Let's talk a little bit about RANKBRAIN. And I know we have about 15 minutes, so I promise you we will finish on time, folks. What is RANKBRAIN? RANKBRAIN is an algorithm or machine learning process that helps Google process and match queries to the best possible results. I know that sounds like a whole lot of nothing, but what it means in a nutshell is that RANKBRAIN helps Google understand the intent of searches and use the right ranking signals to show results. So the more complex the query, the more heavily RANKBRAIN is involved. Why does this matter to you? Because it means that keywords are not the end-all be-all when writing and creating content, especially for complex queries and high purchase intent searches, right? And just to put this in perspective for you, Google processes 450 million brand new queries every day. So that means 450 million times a day, someone types something into Google that the search engine has never seen before. And with that kind of volume, you can see where something like RANKBRAIN is so important, because it helps the search engine understand the intent of these different searches. Here's a quick example. I did steal this from linkassistant.com, so shout out to them. But you could see various different keyword searches and what the actual intent is behind those. And as people, we're pretty good at understanding that. But for many years, Google struggled. With RANKBRAIN in place, it now knows the difference between researching specialty vinyl stores and getting tips on choosing vinyl. One being a purchase-driven type of search, the other being a pure research type of search. So keep this in mind. In optimizing your content for RANKBRAIN, we want to do a few things. And some of these things are reiterating the points before because they're that important, right? The first is, again, having a clear taxonomy. If you were glazing over when we spent like 14 slides earlier talking about that, I'm now reiterating it because it's that important. The easier your site is to navigate and crawl, the better Google will understand what your site's about, what you offer, and the relationships between your content and the different queries it's processing in RANKBRAIN. And on that same note, make sure to use proper tagging, right? Semantic markup is so important because instead of just using words, we want to let people know this is a review, this is a heading and it's important, this is a special type of category page, right? We want to make sure that we're using all the right technical markup so that search engines have that much more context when understanding what your page is about. But at the same time, it's not just about the technical piece, it's about being human and helpful. Use natural language when possible, knowing now that you're not handcuffed by using and spamming keywords all throughout your content. They may still be important, but they are not the most important. The most important is getting across the message to the right people. And on that note, it's important for us as SEOs and as marketers to always keep intent in mind. What type of user are you trying to attract? What questions or problems does a specific page answer? And when you're doing your content planning and when you're doing optimization of your existing site, always keep this in mind and jot it down on the side, because understanding user intent will help you craft a page that connects best with users and that will show search engines the best possible results for them. Next, let's talk about mobile first and why that matters. As many of you know, and I know NetElixir, we've been talking about this nonstop because it's that important, but mobile searches surpassed desktop searches for the first time in 2016. And as you can see here, that gap is getting wider and wider and wider every single day, which means that you can't just have a mobile-friendly site anymore. You need to have a mobile-first site, right? So that means optimizing your site, assuming that the first and many touches after that will be from mobile devices, both from real visitors and from mobile-first crawlers, right? To get a little bit more specific, we don't know the date, but sometime in 2018, probably this summer, Google's switching its index to a mobile-first index, meaning that you should be thinking about this as mobile pages being the canonical version and the desktop page actually switching and being the alternate version, right? A little technical, but you should really start thinking of this. And now you have to start changing your processes for content, web development, optimization with mobile first in mind. This change is happening. It's happened in a lot of different places. And we believe that it is going fully live this summer. So you do need to get on the horse and start riding here. Just so you understand the key difference. In the past, responsive web design usually meant that you started with a nice website desktop design and then began to build breakpoints in to optimize it for tablets and eventually for phones. You're going to now reverse that workflow. You're going to make sure that you have a full user experience on mobile and then scale that up to larger screen devices. So start with the mobile, and that's where the mobile first comes in, not just mobile friendly. Here's an example of two sites that are mobile friendly, but only one of them is mobile first. On the left, you'll see the home goods site clearly works on a mobile device, but it's not working for the viewer, for the customer, right? It's got a big pop-up that shows up, right? I don't necessarily find the navigation. It's not in an intuitive place. It's hard for me to find what I'm looking for, and I don't really see much when I hit the mobile site. Consider Zappos on the other hand, right? Contact information, clear and up top. Search bar, clear and up top. USP, right below that. And an easy, clear navigation for their category pages right below. That's mobile first thinking, right? So again, make sure just because you have a mobile friendly site does not mean it's mobile first, and you need to start thinking about those differences. Here are some guidelines that we recommend for a mobile first site. Number one, responsive experience is preferred over a dedicated mobile domain. I won't get too deep into this, but for those of you still that have a separate mobile site completely, a lot of the times you're doubling up your resources to keep both of those in check. And it is recommended by both search engines and by NetElixir that you instead focus on a responsive design with a mobile first approach. Secondly, make sure that the content that you create, make sure all the core functionality is created with mobile first in mind. Too many times I see beautiful desktop experiences that are watered down to the point where they're not even usable on mobile anymore. Instead, first start thinking about that mobile experience, and then you can add features above and beyond that for your desktop users. Keep important information above the fold, so it's the first thing someone sees when they land on your site. And always be testing. Again, this is more of a marketing recommendation, but it's important that you know how different experiences are going to affect different devices. Use Chrome's dev tools to preview your site on all the different popular mobile devices and screens, and make sure that you're not leaving out a huge subset of your customers because your site works flawlessly on iPhone but doesn't necessarily work on Android or Windows Phone or one of the other platforms. And finally, scale your resources. Don't be displaying a giant giant desktop image on the mobile screen, right? Make sure that all your media assets are scaled so that you have a much faster design. And speaking of speed, we'll just touch on this briefly because I know we have talked about this extensively in the past, but e-commerce sites really do struggle with page speed. Why? They're highly visual experiences, lots of images. There's fast turnover of different pages. You're always adding new products, categories, removing them. There's a large volume of tracking pixels needed, right? Can you even count on all your fingers and toes how many tracking pixels you have? I think a lot of you will probably say no because you have more than that. And there's so many platforms. There is no standardization across e-commerce platforms or across CMSs to make these things easy. And that's why for a lot of e-commerce sites, we do see significant speed issues. If you want to help balance performance with aesthetics, we recommend a few things. First and foremost, to compress and condense all of your assets. That means images, that means your HTML, CSS, JavaScript, right? And it also means auditing your content regularly. We want to make sure that we audit to make sure that we don't have a bunch of old tracking pixels and scripts on our site that don't add any value, but do create bloat. Next, use a CDN, a content delivery network, to serve these assets, like your images, like your video. By doing that, you speed up the experience and you help both users and search engines find content more quickly. We can also work on rendering below the fold content on a scroll, right? In layman's terms, only show what pops up on your screen before scrolling and load those other assets as someone begins to scroll. That way, the browser and the crawler and the user aren't waiting for everything to load to see the most important things first. And finally, do more with CSS and HTML5, right? This technology is mainstream by now. If you aren't already, don't use images for things that can be done with CSS, and don't use other assets that include a lot more bloat when you can do them natively with HTML or with CSS. So a little bit more of a developer tip, but keep that in mind and always bring it back to your team when thinking about new ways to optimize your site. So, that was a little bit of a marathon, and we're right on target with our timing. Let's do a quick recap. First of all, everything begins with a strong architecture, and we want to make sure that we're optimizing our site for both users and for search engines. We want to make sure that we're aware of all the key page types and that we're understanding that each of those needs to be optimized to match the intent of the user. We want to consider how Google and other search engines are using AI and machine learning and use this to our advantage when creating and optimizing our pages. We want to make sure we're mobile first, not just mobile friendly. And we're obsessing over speed and prioritization to make sure that users are getting the best possible experience. And finally, use your noggin, right? We speak to so many really smart people that we want to let you know that if it feels like it's wrong, it's probably wrong, right? Don't ever let best practices or other things interfere with what you think is the best overall experience for your brand, because no one knows your brand better than you do. And we want to make sure that we replicate great experiences that we find on other sites. Now, just want to say really quickly, thank you all of you for joining, but this isn't it, right? For any of you that already registered for SEO week, you will get automatically notified of the rest of the sessions coming up. And as said earlier, we do have some really exciting ones. Tomorrow, we have Christy performing a technical SEO audit, showing you what's important in 2018 and how to prioritize this audit so that you're not spending 80 hours a week trying to figure out how to get everything on paper. On Thursday, Hala, our SEO director, will be going over using Amazon to fuel organic growth, something that not a lot of people are talking about right now, but is becoming more and more important every day as Amazon continues to eat up market share and become an important part of all of our daily processes. And finally, we'll bring in some team members on Friday to talk about advanced tactics for omni-channel growth. How does SEO fit into the big picture? How does it connect with your other channels? And what can we do to make sure that we're not living in silos and operating just within our own little niches, but instead thinking about the big picture for our brand? For those of you who have others in your organization you think would benefit from these specific sessions, please have them visit netelixir.com/webinar. They can still register, join in, and you can make sure that either your development team, your Amazon team, your social team, or anyone else that you believe is an important part of this process can join in. Whew. Thank you all again. I think I have 1 minute for questions. So let's see if anyone has any questions to go with. Please type them in the questions box. Okay, let's see. So Jenny was asking, this is a tough one, but how do we prioritize crawlers over users? Great question. I always look at it from a perspective of what do we have the most control over, right? For example, sometimes it might seem like a better choice to prioritize technical elements, but if your team isn't confident in their ability to execute on those tasks, instead I recommend overcompensating on the user experience and on the content rather than doing something that might not work that well on the technical side, and vice versa, right? If you have a technical team and an SEO team that are absolute whizzes, you might want to overcompensate on the crawler side just so you can get those quick gains, and then bring in your brand team when it's appropriate to improve upon that. So great question, difficult to answer with a concrete one, but again, use your noggin and don't forget to consult your internal teams, your agency, or any consultants that you're using. And of course, don't forget to call the NetElixir team if you have additional questions. So yes, we can send out copies of the deck, absolutely. We'll be sending out copies of all the decks. Great. We have a few more coming in. Unfortunately, we're all out of time. I will make sure, since I think all of you sent over your emails when you registered, any questions I didn't get to, we will connect with you offline and make sure that we're able to answer those queries. Thanks again to everyone who joined today. I hope you had a great day one of SEO week, and we look forward to seeing you tomorrow at 1 p.m.